where we talk about credit issues and we dig into what you need to do to get your credit right. Also, your rights and responsibilities as a consumer as it pertains to credit, bill collectors, everything else. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome my brother, Mr. Ponder, to the Black Business School. How you doing today, man?
Doing awesome, brother.
Good.
Nice to be with you, Dr. Watkins.
Hey, brother, I'm so happy that you're here. And now let me ask you this. What state are you in, and what state do you operate in?
Well, I operate right now. I'm in Oklahoma City. I just did a deposition. I'm actually admitted in the federal court in Oklahoma City, but my home base is New York City. My practice is located in Manhattan, and the credit and debt laws that I help people with are federal laws. And so I'm in federal courts throughout the nation. So New York, Indiana, Florida, Texas, Colorado, Wisconsin, and I think that's it. But those are the courts that I practice out of, federal courts.
Okay, and so can you tell me, kind of just so we can establish the background here, because I'm definitely curious myself in terms of hearing it straight from you. In general, if somebody was to say, like, so what do you do on a daily basis? What kinds of things do you help people with? How would you answer that question, if I may ask?
So I'm what's called a consumer lawyer, and dealing with consumer law issues. And consumer law issues deal with specifically credit issues, debt issues, and some consumer lawyers deal with automobile issues. My practice doesn't include automobile issues such as lemon law, but my focus is on credit and debt issues, and also real estate issues, specifically foreclosure defense. So consumer is any person who is doing transactions. So a consumer would be someone that may be alleged to owe a debt. So debts are medical debts, mortgage debts, anything. And also a consumer is a person who has a credit report. So you and I are consumers.
Really? Okay. Now, so as consumers, my thought is, or at least the reason I'm going to ask this question, forgive me if it's a silly question, but, as a consumer who's dealing with credit issues, or let's say I'm dealing with bill collectors and stuff like that, at what point would I need a lawyer as opposed to, just things that I can kind of handle, on my own? Like what are some examples, maybe?
Well, when a person is faced with a debt collection issue, I think at that point is a good time to consult with a lawyer. And when I say that, if you get a letter in the mail from a debt collector saying you owe $30 or $30,000, the area of law that I'm in, you can get an attorney like myself to take a look at that letter for free and see if there's any issues with that debt. And what I mean by that is whether that debt is a $30 debt or a $30,000 debt, if that makes it to your credit report, it's going to damage your credit. So at that step, I think a person should consider getting a lawyer. Also, if a person has issues on their credit report, I think at that point, they should talk to a consumer lawyer like myself. One reason is it's free to talk to me about an issue, to see if this is something that can be resolved for free on your own, or if you need to get someone to help you do it. A lot of people, we know about credit repair, and when you think about credit repair, you think about someone paying a company to help fix credit. But believe it or not, before you do that, you can talk to a lawyer to see if it's something that the lawyer can handle for you or advise you on before you start spending money with, non-lawyers and other credit gurus. So really, Dr. Watkins, as early as possible, I think a person should talk to a lawyer when it comes to their finances and credit, and especially if there's a mortgage issue when you're talking about your home.
Really? Okay. Well, one of the things that's really interesting to me is, and obviously I hope that everybody who's listening agrees that credit is important, that credit matters. One of the things that's interesting to me is that you see so many situations where people are dealing with bill collectors and they're just hiding, they're just running away, and they don't answer the phone, they know which numbers they might call on, stuff like that. And it seems like that's kind of a bad move. Like that could really lead to serious problems, almost like having a disease in your body and not refusing to go to the doctor or whatever it is. What are some of the problems that can come up if you get bill collectors calling you and you're not paying attention, you're not answering the phone when they call?
Dr. Borges, that's a great analogy you make, ignoring the disease, because here's the thing, and I'll tell you something to piggyback what you're saying. The worst thing you can do when it comes to debt collection is to ignore it, okay, one. The second worst thing you can do is to pay it. And I know that sounds weird, and I'll explain why. When you ignore a debt collection letter, you are shooting yourself in the foot, because you have 30 days from that initial contact to dispute the debt to stop it from going to your credit. After the first 30 days, that's going to go to your credit, and you lose the right to get verification of the debt under the law. So the law I'm referring to is called the FDCPA, which stands for Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. It's a federal law. That law gives you a narrow 30 days to seek verification of a debt. Now, verification is different from disputing. You can dispute it any time. But that first 30 days, that starts from the day you get the letter. So if you get a letter on the 1st of the month, you have until the 30th to dispute it. And when you dispute it during that 30-day period, the law makes the debt collector stop collecting on it until they provide you all the information you're requesting regarding the dispute. So that'll hurt you. Now, the second worst thing is to pay a debt collection, because one, you may be paying a debt that you shouldn't pay. Two, if you pay the debt and it's on your credit, it doesn't remove it off your credit. So it's like, as you refer to disease, if you got a cancer on your skin and just cut it off and don't, I mean, you're not curing it. You're not really, you still got an open wound. It's like, you helped, but you didn't fix it. So if you pay a debt collection, you're going to have the only change on your credit history is going to be that debt collection is going to show as paid. It's still a scar on your credit. It still hurts your credit. You need to delete it. So the worst thing you can do is pay it, because without a separate arrangement, that thing you paid trying to fix your credit is still on your credit. It's just not hurting you as much. It's still hurting you, but not as much as it was beforehand.
Wow. So by the way, if you just came in, I'm speaking to Brian L. Ponder. He's an attorney at law. He focuses on issues related to credit, debt collection issues, foreclosure, etc. And so you make an interesting point. So you're saying that if I'm dealing with a bill collector, that number one, I shouldn't ignore the letter. If I'm getting the letter, I need to go ahead and deal with that. And then two, if I choose to ignore the letter, I'm foregoing my rights for verification. And then three, you're saying if I want to do the right thing, I shouldn't go as far as actually paying the debt. I need to actually do something different. So you're saying that paying that debt may not even remove it from your credit. Now, when you said that, at first I was thinking that you were going to say that, that maybe if you negotiate the debt, you can get it reduced, or they're going to inflate the value because they got all these collection fees on top. But you're literally saying that that I won't even get what I think I'm getting. I'm thinking I'm paying the debt in order to reduce or to get that off of my credit. And you're saying they won't even work half the time. So what is sort of the solution? What do you do to kind of make it right?
So, all right, to make it right, you want to get proof of the debt. And here's the reason why, Dr. Watkins. I mean, a lot of times, debt collectors collect debts for someone else. So if you have a debt with Capital One, and all of a sudden Acme debt collectors are trying to, come to you saying, pay us, we represent Capital One. Well, how do you really know that? So debt collectors, it could be a scam. Okay. Most people, they say, well, I did have a Capital One card, I guess I'll go ahead and pay it. Well, wrong. Debt collection is a very nefarious industry. You want to make sure that you're paying the right person. So you want to get verification of that debt. Now, a lot of times these debts are so old, you don't even remember how much it was for. So debt collectors will add money to it that's not supposed to be there. So without you doing your own due diligence, you can't just pay a debt. Now, if you did pay it, once you do your due diligence and figure out the debt's proper, well, now the issue is it on your credit report? If it's on your credit report, you don't want to pay it without written agreement that once I pay you this $1,000 to this old credit card or whatever the case may be, you're going to have to delete it off my credit because you want the full benefit of having, paid that debt and make it go away. If you don't get it in writing that it'll be deleted, it won't be. It'll sit on your credit for 7 years. 7 years.
Wow.
So that's the importance of doing the verification. And if you do pay, you want to have an arrangement in place. Now, if you get an attorney involved, what's interesting is debt collectors sometimes will abandon collection of the debt. So if you get an attorney involved and an attorney sends a letter for verification, sometimes they run like roaches and they never, they say, forget it, I don't want it anymore. So that's a benefit. So you can keep that $1,000 in your pocket and deal with it another time or deal with it directly with whoever you supposedly owe. Now, I'll say this, Dr. Watkins, a lot of debts have statute of limitations. So for example, in Georgia, perhaps, I recently had a client, it may be 6 years. Each state's different. So after 6 years of you not paying that credit card, you don't have to pay it.
Wow.
Okay. So that's the same thing for mortgages. I have clients in New York City where the foreclosure docket gets so backed up, banks try to foreclose and then acceleration notices, and it's 8 years later that they try to foreclose. Well, I come on the case and say, well, guess what? You can't foreclose on my client anymore. My clients don't have to pay a mortgage anymore because why? It's too late. So it's a whole lot of stuff, and we'll never know this. You have to, either do a real nice self-study, but it's so many laws to protect consumers, you wouldn't realize it. So for example, after 6 years of accelerating a note in New York, the bank can't foreclose on you. That doesn't mean the mortgage is down on your record, so you can't sell your $1 million, brownstone and get your $1 million. The mortgage is still there, but you can't be foreclosed on. But it's not automatic. Your lawyer or you have to assert that defense to stop it. Same thing with credit cards and other debts. Most debts are unsecured debts, which means it's not tied to anything. Credit card debt is unsecured. Medical debt is unsecured, meaning if you don't pay it, no one's going to take your house or car. No one's going to garnish your bank account. The only way they could do that if they were to sue you and get a judgment, and then they could use that judgment. So a lot of times, people confuse debts with things that can really hurt them, but sometimes debts are too old to hurt them, and sometimes debts are unsecured, and if you can't pay it and no one's suing you, you're really not in trouble just yet.
Wow. Well, by the way, everybody, I want you to know who I'm talking to. I'm speaking to Brian L. Ponder, attorney at law. He's a legal expert. He focuses on credit, debt collection issues, foreclosure, things like that. And also, I want to remind everybody, if you haven't joined our curriculum in the Black Business School, you can actually get started for free. Feel free to visit theblackbusinessschool.com. That's theblackbusinessschool.com. So, Mr. Ponder, let me ask you this. I know a lot of people, when you say go get a lawyer, first of all, they don't. It seems like a lot of people will get the lawyer when it's too late, or they don't even know when they need a lawyer, right? But then also when they're thinking, oh, hiring a lawyer, the cost is going to be out of control. I can't afford that, and they're not able to maybe even see that the money you spend hiring the lawyer you'll make that back by all the money you save by having protection as you deal with your situation. What should I expect? Like if I was to call your firm and say, look, I got a bunch of debts, my credit's bad, I got bill collectors blowing my phone up. If you're working with, it's interesting because you're working with clients who are there because they're having financial problems. That's got to be a headache for you guys. I can't imagine what your debt collection situation must be like. So how does that even resolve itself? Like, what would I even expect if I was coming as a client with all these debts and all these issues?
That's a great question, Dr. Watkins. Everybody's probably wondering that. And I'll be honest with you, I felt the same way. I became a lawyer because lawyers were so expensive. I'd rather be my lawyer than have to pay one. because all the issues I help clients with, I face. I face foreclosure. I face debt collection. All this stuff, I have personal invested time and knowledge with it because it's affected me. And I was like, well, shoot, I might as well just become a lawyer and deal with it and help other people. And that's what I do. So, the Congress and coming up with these consumer laws thought about what you're talking about. These people don't have money to afford $500 an hour attorneys. Okay. So guess what? The law provides that if these consumers are violated, the debt collectors have to pay their attorney's fees. So if you were to call my office, you can expect to have a free consultation, a free evaluation of your credit report and debt collection letters, and advice, real advice on what to do next. If there's a violation, you can expect that I may represent you if we find a violation, and you don't have to pay my attorney's fees. You may just have to pay costs. Cost means the amount of money it takes to file the lawsuit. There's a filing fee associated with that. So you as a consumer will have to pay that. And the reason is, I mean, with hundreds of consumers, it would be cost prohibitive to pay everyone's fees. But that amounts to only, the federal court filing fee is $400. And the beautiful thing about that is, people call me typically about one thing. I got this one issue. Well, let's look at all 3 credit reports because, it's likely not just one thing. And the reason I do that is if we have to sue somebody, we can do it all at once. So no need to be spending money here, there, and everywhere. Let's tackle everything at once. So you can expect really a free consultation. And if we find something wrong that we can pursue, you don't have to, pay the thousands of dollars to retain like typical cases. And we could go after those people and get the stuff corrected. Now, in some instances, there's some steps you have to take before suing. Like, for example, credit reporting issues. Before you can sue Equifax, you have to send a dispute letter. So if you have a problem, you have to actually in writing dispute it with them. You can do it by phone, but I prefer everything being writing. And consumers, you can do that yourself. So I typically walk people through how to do that. Sometimes I do it for them. And I'm actually I've been working on it for a long time, a little book, a workbook with these letters or in a website so that people can sort of have access to it because, people don't know exactly what to say for this debt, what to do if they have an inquiry. So I'm putting together some resources for people where they can download these letters. But as far as debt collection, again, it may be a step or two you may have to do first before suing. But in general, that stuff is de minimis. Now, credit repair, when people engage credit repair companies, what they're really doing is paying people to do those initial steps I'm talking about now. So you're paying Lexington Law or some credit guru to really do that first step for you that you can do for free. Now, those credit repair people are valuable because time is money. People may not have the time to do these initial steps. And so, I respect people that actually do that part ethically, meaning do what they're paid to do. But that's a one-step process to it max, meaning you shouldn't be paying someone for 12, 13 months to do that step. So people should understand, when you hire a credit repair person that's likely not a lawyer, all you need is one dispute. It's like telling your kid to do something the first time. That's all you should really be dealing with. After that, you're doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. There's a name for it: insanity. So if after your first dispute, you don't get your result, okay, you need to take it to the next step. You don't need to do the same thing over and over, hoping for a different result.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, man, I think that you're laying everything out very effectively. I can see, I'm looking at people on social media and they're really loving what you're talking about. Before I move on to my next question, I want to ask you, just in case anybody has to go, what is the URL, the website people can go to if they want to contact you for a consultation or to do business with you, anything like that?
Well, they go to my firm website is brianponder.com, and just my first and last name, which is BrianPonder.com. My email, which is a great way to reach out to me, is brian@brianponder.com. brianponder.com. So BRIAN at BRIANPONDER. And people typically email me with their questions and even send their credit reports, and I'll respond back. And on my email signature line, I have a free consultation link where they can click and schedule a time where they can call me. And what I do, if the time is available, you'll get to talk to me for free and talk to me about your issue. And I recommend that people, before that call, send me their report. That way that call can be productive and we can talk specifically about something and not hypothetically about stuff.
All right. Well, I love that. That's great information. So that's brianponder.com for those who didn't get it when he said it the first time. It's BRIANPONDER.com. His email address is brian@brianponder.com. Now, let me ask you this, man. I as you probably are well aware of, there's this whole issue that people are having when it comes to debt, especially when it comes to student loans. I think I read a study that said that the average Black college student who graduated in 2003, 2004 has not seen any reduction in their debt level from 2003, 2004, but it's actually gone up due to collection fees and everything else because the default rate has been 50%. When you talk about people that are in that category, it almost seems like student loan debt is kind of seen a little bit different from other kinds of debt because it affects so many people. Does the law kind of see a difference there? Are there sort of remedies that they might have access to that other people don't, or remedies that they don't have access to that other people do, or is it kind of all the same? What is your take?
There's a difference, Dr. Boykin. So some debt is government backed. Some student loan debt are considered federal loans. The law looks at that differently from private loan debt. But in general, a consumer, a former student they have a lot of options on dealing with student loan debt. Student loan debt is a big issue, Dr. Watkins, because it's next to a mortgage is probably one of the largest debts that a person will, deal with. Mm-hmm. Now, when we finish college, we don't really get schooled on student loan debt, other than, I think there's something called an exit interview, but I think it's like you walk in, walk out just to say you did it. But you leave college, and you with professional education and us, others, it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think I just saw someone on Facebook today where this one person had like a $900 month student loan payment, which that's more than someone's rent and mortgage. So here's the thing, Dr. Watkins. The first time someone really understands that student loan debt is an issue is when they get that letter saying, hey, your student loan is default. Well, first of all, the student left college, they're looking for a job. They're not even thinking about figuring out getting a deferment, getting a payment, reduction. That letter they get, look, your payment was due months ago. You're in default. Well, now their credit is screwed. They have a $100,000 debt. Their credit now consists of whatever credit cards they were thrown down their throat in college, and now a six-figure student loan debt. Your credit is jacked. Now, at that point, Dr. Watkins, what people don't know is all of that can be fixed within months. Now, if your student loans default, there's something called a student loan rehabilitation program that no one tells you about, where you can call and say, look, I want to get my student loan fixed, and they'll take you through a qualification process to figure out how much you need to pay over 6 to 9 months to take your student loan out of default. And what that means, it could be between $5 and $50 a month for 6 to 9 months. After the 6 or 9 months is up, I think now, well, it may be about 9 months, depending on the program. The student loan debt collector will delete all of your student loan defaulted history, and your student loan will be active as good credit. Delete. No one ever hears about this.
Wow.
Okay. And how do I know about this, Dr. Watkins? Because I had to do it myself before I was a lawyer. So And I apologize. Let me.
No, that's okay, brother. Take your time. I'll tell everybody who I'm talking to while you take care of that. I'm speaking to Mr. Brian L. Ponder. He's an attorney at law out of New York. His website, if you actually want to reach out to him and talk to him, is brianponder.com. That's Ponder. Sounds like he's got some computer challenges. You sound like me, man. No, that's okay, brother. I go through it all the time. I'll hit a button. Next thing you know, people hear somebody singing the Star Spangled Banner and all this other stuff. And also don't forget that we actually have a credit repair program, but not just credit repair, but credit repair and education program in the Black Business School. If you want to go take a look at it, feel free. You can. We've made a simple URL for you guys. It's drboycecredit.com. That's drboycecredit.com. The first month is free, and that's where we break down all the credit laws and rules and procedures and calculations and Fair Debt Collection Practices Act and things like that, and have a lot of credit experts that come in and kind of make sure that you're whole. You got to think about your credit, because if you want to build wealth, good credit, what that does is that gives you access to capital. Access to capital means that you can go start your business, you can go buy a home, you can go and do other things that allow you to move from being a consumer, a pure consumer, to being a producer and an investor and an owner, which is a huge step in the wealth building process. So let me ask you this, Mr. Ponder. And I know you're a busy man, you got a busy schedule, and so I would like to finish with one question that personally I'd love to get your take on this. I just so you know, just so everybody knows, I didn't know the brother before we started talking, but I'm very impressed and so impressed. I'd love for you to come back at some point at your convenience. And by the way, everybody, if you're listening and you are impressed, I hope you will also go to his site and be ready to pay the fee. Don't be in there trying to get a whole bunch of free stuff. Talk to him, take the free stuff, but then also invest in Black professionals that are doing their best to help you. He does not have to be here. He's here sharing this information on his own accord. So let me ask you this, man. I was reading about a lot of these, sort of the return of debtors' prisons, so to speak, right? Where you got people that are going to jail because they can't pay their debts. And now I have my own interpretation of it. I'm more of a finance guy, and I sort of see where sort of how that process occurs. But I'd like to get your take in terms of how a person can end up in jail over a debt, and just how common that is. I don't know if it's widespread or if it's just isolated, or what's your take on it?
Okay. Well, just so you know, Dr. Watkins, I have all the time you need. I finished my deposition for today, and whatever time you need, we can make the most of whatever we have to talk about. There's a lot of good topics you're bringing up here. Now, debtor's prison. Now, that doesn't exist now, but I will say this, Dr. Watkins, you bring a good point. Let me tell you something. If your credit is bad, you can't get an apartment, you can't get a car. Some jobs, you need credit clearance. And last year, Dr. Watkins, there was a young lady who was trying to join the Air Force. They would not let her to boot camp with the credit she had. And I fixed her credit report for free, pro bono. She was in Arizona, and she was trying to serve the country. They wouldn't let her in the military. If you're already in the military and you get a credit problem, guess what? They will declassify you, and you may get kicked out of the military over a credit issue because you have security clearance. They present you as a risk based on your credit. So it's not prison right now, but your life can be real tough with bad credit. And if you do find a place, if you can't get up, you can't buy a home, but the limited things that you're able to do on credit with bad credit, you're paying 3 times more than a person with good credit would pay. So as far as jail, there was a lady, a recent widow in Kentucky who called me, and someone came to her house. She thought she was going to jail because her husband died. He had a home that he had financed, and they served her, a marshal served her. She thought she was going to jail. You're not going to go to jail over debt unless you're doing criminal fraud, meaning if you're conducting fraud like mortgage fraud or check schemes, that's different. But debt that you incurred without fraud is not something you can go to jail over. Okay?
Okay.
So that's
Now, what I was asking you about was not so much, obviously, you know, they wouldn't call them debtors' prisons, right? But what I have seen are cases in which people, and again, I'm not an attorney. You're more of a legal expert, of course. You are a legal expert. I'm not. But you know, I've seen cases where you know, debt is served to somebody. They get a letter, they ignore the letter, and it ends up somehow turning into contempt of court. Maybe you're told to come into court for a debtor's examination. You don't show up because you're ignoring the letter. Next thing you know, that flips into an order from the court. And we know when you violate anything the court tells you to do, that is usually led, you know, sort of has jail time over his head. It seems like there's some states that are more likely to do this than others. But I've seen enough cases of this where this actually concerns me a little bit. You know, yes. We know there are some debts where I think you can go to jail for like child support, right? You know, things like that. But so yes. So your take on, just because I have brothers reaching out, you know, they get nervous, you know, like I owe this debt, can I go to jail? Or child support, can I go to jail? You know, so debt can actually lead to incarceration, sort of indirectly, though, right?
You're right, Dr. Watkins. So you make a good point. For example, what you're referring to, if a debt collector sues you and wins, and this happens a lot. And this goes back to ignoring stuff. So you get something in the mail. Some courts, most people think when they get sued, they have to be served papers. Knock on your door, here, you're sued. Some courts, some lower courts, when I say lower courts, dealing with amounts below $15,000, below $5,000, they could sue, you could get sued in those courts, and all they have to do is mail you the lawsuit. And so most people, if you're not accepting a check in the mail, everything's junk mail. So if you ignore it, guess what? The court and the plaintiff, who's the person suing you, will continue to go on without you and get a judgment against you. Now, with that judgment, that person has the ability to file it, attach against your home, file it, attach against your check, garnish your check, your bank account. Now, if they can't figure out where your money is, they can do what you're referring to as a debtor's examination, where they send you a request for information. Basically, they want to know, where's your money? Where's your bank account? Where do you work? And if you don't come to court and answer that, you can be held in contempt. And what you're referring to is contempt of court. It could result in an arrest, or it could contempt. The judge has the right to, enter whatever order it decides, he or she decides. Now, with respect to men dealing with child support, I mean, women too, but mostly we're talking about men here. Child support is through the court system as well. So if you're ordered child support and don't pay in default, some states allow your license to get revoked, right? So when you get pulled over, you're going to jail. Now, it's not going to jail because you didn't pay necessarily, but the trickle down from not paying resulted in a court, ordering your license suspended, and then you're going to jail. Now, I never can understand, I guess the whole threat of going to jail is supposed to make people pay, but you certainly can't pay the child support from jail now. Mm-hmm. But now you got to spend thousands of dollars to get out of jail, which could have gone to the child. I mean, it just really makes no sense. I mean, now that person has to get out of jail, that money could have gone to child support. But anyway, you're right. So debt can trickle down to cause you to go to jail one way or another. So It's not a debtor's prison, but there's a trickle-down effect to all of this.
Yeah, I mean, it really almost speaks to just the importance of, for anybody that's young or anybody that has young people in your family, you got to talk to them about debt. You got to be careful. There was Samuel Adams was talking about, he's talking about governments, but it applies to people. He said, if you ever want to enslave a nation, you can either do it with a gun or do it with debt. So if you ever want to really be a slave, put yourself in debt where you're living above your means and you can't afford to pay the debt back, it really limits your options and your ability, your ability to do the things that you want to do. It kind of becomes a mess, and then when you throw in things like child support and all that, you got to be careful with that stuff. I mean, that stuff will get you in a lot of trouble. Now, let me ask you this, Mr. Pond. I want to ask you this last question before we bounce out. So, with the Trump administration in place, and you kind of have, the Republicans kind of doing their thing in government, Do you see any trends in terms of consumer protections? It almost seems like they're always sort of having this battle where the corporations are trying to get rid of the consumer protection so they can get their money back, or, you know, more effectively and easier and things like that. Do you see consumer protections decreasing over time, like in the future, or do you think they'll remain the same? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Dr. Watkins, it's decreasing right before our eyes. So the Trump administration right now, well, there's an agency that started, I believe, 2007-ish. It's called the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB for short. They have, if you go to their website, I think maybe $8 billion they've gotten back to consumers, billions of dollars over less than 10 years that they've been in existence. Last month, I believe, the director of that organization stepped down. The Trump administration has been attacking that agency since, you know, President Trump got in office. Right now, there's a new director that was appointed that really is not consumer friendly. He's putting someone in there who really is going to defang that whole Consumer Protection Bureau. And the CFPB, they do a lot of stuff. So if you were to go on the CFPB website right now, you have a problem, for free, they would investigate it, send your dispute to the other side. The other side will respond, and the CFPB collects all this information and they sue people. If they collect enough problems regarding someone, they'll sue and they'll collect money and give it back to the consumer. So they've collected, like I say, in the billions. So to answer your question, the consumer law, especially the CFPB, is under attack. And, you know, there's some other laws like arbitration. Arbitration is something that happens where you pay a private arbitrator to resolve issues. So right now, credit card companies and other companies are putting these arbitration clauses in credit card agreements. So if you have a problem, you can't sue them, you have to arbitrate. Well, that's not fair because arbitration costs a lot of money. And to sue someone is cheaper because you can get a lawyer like me who can sue without paying all the fees, but you have to pay arbitrators. So those are some issues that are affecting us during this administration with Trump, where, you know, we are under attack. But, you know, for the most part, the consumer laws that are on the books have been there, you know, for over 30, almost 40 years. I don't think they're going anywhere. But some of the help and agencies that are around to help us, they are under attack, like the CFPB, and they may not be around. And we don't know. I mean, there may be some changes within the law that could really hurt us. It may help, like Equifax and those banks, big banks, and hurt consumers. So, you know, people have to be cognizant of that. And again, reach out and get help because these issues, where they seem simple, but they're complex, and they can have a real long-lasting effect if they're not dealt with appropriately.
All right, man. Well, you know what? I feel full of knowledge right now. I hope you guys feel the same way. I hope you guys who are watching on social media will take 1 second and give a digital round of applause to our special guest, Attorney Brian L. Ponder. Hit the like button, hit the share button, give him some digital hearts and likes and all this other stuff and thumbs up to let this brother know that you appreciate the fact that he is bringing knowledge and he's bringing intellectual food to his people, to his community. And I want to personally say thank you very much, Mr. Ponder, for coming and hanging out with us. Not your first time here. I know you came in with Shauna Etienne, who's one of our faculty in the Black Business School. And I'll tell you what, you're an honorary faculty member with us because I have a lot of respect for what you bring, and very well polished. I mean, you guys on Instagram can't see this brother, but he's sharp, and it made me feel bad for wearing a T-shirt. I said, I need
that's okay, Doc.
That's okay, brothers. We gotta encourage each other to step our game up. Shoot, if black women didn't come in here to see me wearing a T-shirt, they want to see a sharp dressed man. And I'm telling you, this brother came sharp. He came not just physically sharp, dressed well, but he's also mentally sharp, and he's also there to help the people. So I want to give you guys his email address and his website in case you would like to speak to him further And again, be ready to respect his business. And if there's a fee, please, if you have it, pay the fee. If you go to Walmart and Kmart and Target and everywhere else, you're paying fees over there. So when you deal with a black professional, you come in ready to pay that fee. If you feel that they're giving you a service that's going to benefit you. His website is brianponder.com. That's Ponder, brianponder.com. His email address is brian@brianponder.com. That's BrianPonder. So feel free to reach out to him and get your credit right. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Brian's dealt with credit issues. I've dealt with messy credit issues. I told y'all about my bankruptcy when I was 25. I told you about the repos. I laid it all out there, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't fun. It ain't fun talking about your dark past. But I'm here to also tell you that if you confront the challenge, then there is light at the end of the tunnel. You got to confront it. I know some of you are scared and nervous about it, but you got to confront it, and you'd be amazed at what's out there for you if you open your mind to all the possibilities. So thank you once again, Mr. Ponder. I appreciate your time, brother.
Thank you, Dr. Watkins. Anytime at all.
All right. And everybody also, in case you don't know, we actually do have a credit program, a credit mastery program in the Black Business School. If you want to go take a look, the first month is actually free. You can go to drboycecredit.com. That's drboycecredit.com. Also, those of you who are asking, everybody keeps coming and asking about Bitcoin and crypto. We have a line, a powerhouse group of cryptocurrency experts who not only teach you everything all about Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Ripple, the blockchain, all of that. This is where they live. They actually also have a proprietary program called Jarvis that they use to predict which coins they anticipate are going to do well. There are a lot of scam coins out here. There are also a lot of coins that don't even need to exist. But there are a few diamonds in the rough that are maybe half a penny now that are literally blowing up in front of our faces. In fact, this week, I don't know if I told you, I didn't mention this to you, Brian, but this week, literally the guys I talked to, I said, well, what are your recommendations? And they actually recommended 2 or 3. They recommended Ripple and Stellar Lumens and something else. And I just did what they told me to do because they have a track record. They literally turned, I think, $2,000 into $80,000 in a year and a half. And literally I went and took my money. I bought everything that they told me to buy. And literally all that stuff shot up. One of them, Ripple, actually shot up 77% today.